Wonder if Julie will make it tonight, but either way, we've got the three of us, so. This meeting is now in session. Before we get going tonight, I would like to take a moment of silence for Commissioner Bob McNary, who recently passed away. And he has served on this council for many, many years. He served with the city for many years and volunteered, and he was a very good man. And please recognize a moment of silence at this time. Thank you very much. Appreciate you all doing that. Next is going to be roll call tonight. Would you please give us a roll call?
Ms. Derrickly,
Present.
Eric Leeson,
I'm present.
Mr. Johnson.
Here.
Julie Reynolds is absent and Scott Randall.
Present.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Next up, would we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much, everyone. Next up, we have the approval of the agenda, and this is going to be with the supplemental agenda that I hope everyone has received. Yes, everyone's received. Okay. Would there be a motion to approve the agenda as it stands with the supplemental agenda?
Also move.
Thank you, Eric. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Victor. All those in favor of the agenda as it stands, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Next up is the approval of minutes for our last meeting, which seems a long, long time ago, which it was, February 25th, 2026. Did either of you commissioners have any changes to the minutes?
Oh, I think I noticed on page 2, Tom was recognized as giving the second for the approval of the minutes, but then Tom was absent from the meeting.
Good catch.
That's all I saw.
I don't have my notes. Does it say if he was present or? Oh, yeah, right there. Thank you. Yeah.
I think he phoned in but couldn't make contact or something.
Yeah, there was some connection issues. I do believe you're right. Yeah. Okay. I'm not seeing that direct. Oh, no, that's absent.
Right at the top.
Oh, right there, the first
There
line.
on-
Yes.
On page 2.
Yep. Thank you, Eric. Yeah, it was moved that Vice Chair McNary, moved by Vice Chair McNary and seconded by Commissioner GMA. Okay, yes, so that was incorrect. Do we know who it was, or would we have to look back at the minutes? Probably look back at the video. Okay, thank you, Crystal. Okay, any other changes to the minutes? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes with the edit that Eric has made?
I'll move that we approve the minutes from the February 25th, 2026 meeting as corrected.
Thank you, Eric. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Victor. All those in favor of the minutes as amended, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. Next up on the agenda is public comment. During this portion of the meeting, anyone may speak on any subject that does not later appear on the agenda. 5 minutes per person will be allowed. Is there anyone in the public here that, yes, please, I believe it's Mr. Wolf. Please, up to the microphone. you would please state your name and address for the record? Check, mic check.
Okay. Check again. I am Richard Wolf, the Dalles, Oregon. Just want to mention that I just noticed that there's the arcade sign behind it. It's next to the Granada Theater, one of our landmarks, I believe. But behind that board is what's called a plywood. It's a T111, 4 inches on center. And I don't know if it's going to have new owners or not, but I would like to bring up that it's an eyesore. It's pretty obvious. It's in a historic location. And there wasn't any follow-up done that should have been done. So hopefully it can be addressed when and if there's going to be new owners, or just to have note of that's a blemish. You know, it's blight, if you want to call it. But also want to talk about First Street. It's so ignored. It's so historical. It seems so wrong that our city doesn't acquaint with the port of the Dalles, the railroad, the tugboats, the bay. There's a bay out there. 29 years we were most inland seaport, 200 miles inland. We made way upriver further, of course, but very, very significant. There's no storm drain down there. The railroad came through first. The storm drain is called a loca. It's a Roman storm drain, and that's why the road was settling as the way it did. We didn't have garbage service back in not too long ago. I dug some holes and probably buried some artifacts. It's been around so long myself. But there's been history removed from the China building wall there. And this stuff, as it happens, it's very painful for me because I am a historic reservation person. I love history. I'm a half-breed, American Indian. And I'm also English, French, and Dutch. And I love my heritage. And my heritage lies here. I graduated here in 72. And I belong to the American community. And this is a breadbasket for wars. Our history is being lost. And because we're commissioners, or because there are commissioners, it does not make them historic preservationists. Unless we can do it along the guidelines of a place called State Historic Preservation Office. And I would really like that adhered to more, especially when it comes to Roman storm drains. That First Street, Mission Street, is built on sand. We don't build on sand. And they opened up the side of that sand wall. Now, as this summer goes on, that sand castle underneath there is going away. And all that pavement's going to need removed unless you can show me a better way. And I'm an engineer. We had a storm drain there and it was working. And we covered up a storm drain with blacktop in the parking lots. There was an aquifer across Mill Creek as deep as 15 Mile is now and bigger. Won't question us what we know so much. I've got a whole lifetime of preservation. My work never looked like it was worked on. It became part of. And we need that in this little community that we have here, the Dalles, Oregon, end of the Oregon Trail. We started out with the Portage Railroad. Actually, there's seine fishermen down there. There's logging. It's just huge how big we are in our history. Thank you. Thank you for your time. My condolences also. I'm going to miss Bob much.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Appreciate your comments. Is there anyone else in the public tonight that would like to speak on an item that is not on our agenda? Please, up to the microphone. Please state your name and address for the record.
Shana Newsom, the Dalles.
Thank you very much.
I've been working with urban renewal recently, and one of the things that I've noticed is as we're fixing up our buildings, one of the things that's being applied to our brick buildings is latex-based paint. I just,
You lean a little bit into the
oh,
microphone.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Yeah.
One of the things that's being applied to our buildings is latex-based paint. I'd really like to advocate for a mineral-based paint versus a latex. Brick needs to breathe, the mortar needs to breathe. All the things that goes into the brick being able to shift is, it makes it so it can't do that by entombing it in latex. If we were to use a mineral-based paint, then the items could shift correctly and the building could breathe itself. Also, as we're using different mortars on our buildings, I'd like to advocate for using an O-type mortar or correct mortars for the building rather than a Portland cement. Traditional builders would have used an O-type cement, especially in the 1890s. But currently what we're dealing with is people come in and they go, oh, I can use a Portland-based cement, but it's harder than the existing mortar surrounding it. So what happens is it causes spalding to our brick and it causes the buildings to crack. If we really want to preserve our buildings, I think we need stricter standards for what could be done to our buildings in order to keep them from falling apart in the future. I just figured I'd put it out there. I'm writing a lot of the grants for it. And as I write the grants, I don't want to be doing more problems than good in entombing our buildings in plastic. I saw that inside of our paperwork, one of the suggestions was looking to, rather than doing latex based, it was mineral based. That is in the paperwork that maybe potentially we could look at changing our rules to that. I don't know at which time we make that a consideration or what it looks like for historic buildings.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Appreciate that. I'm not seeing anyone else in the public or, we have some people online tonight. Is there anyone else from the public that would like to speak on an item that is not on our agenda tonight? Not seeing anyone react. We will move on to our next item of the night, which is going to be our public hearing for HLC application 226-26 for 308 East 2nd Street for Shania Newsom. This request is to rehabilitate the front facade of the commercial building, and it includes repair of deteriorated exterior finishes and some more work here. Okay, so now is the time specified for Historic Landmarks Commission to conduct a public hearing. The purpose of this public hearing is to consider the following matter, which is HLC application 226-26. For the record, commission members Gleason, Johnson, and myself are present, and a quorum exists. Counselor Randall is present. He is a non-voting liaison tonight. The substantive criteria upon which the Historic Landmarks Commission will base its decision in this matter are contained in the city's comprehensive plan and land use and development ordinances. A public hearing is required by law and certain rules apply. First and foremost, you must be recognized by the chair in order to speak and present testimony. When recognized by the chair, please state your name and mailing address for the record. The hearing is required by law to be recorded. Generally, the public hearing is a procedure, Generally, the public hearing procedure is as follows. Prior to the public hearing, a determination will be made of the qualifications of the commission members and allow for challenges from the audience. I will open the public hearing with a staff report. The purpose of the staff report is to further identify the applicable criteria of the application being considered and to provide background information about the application. After the staff report, we will hear testimony from the proponents, those persons in favor of the application. Next, there will be testimony from the opponents, those not in favor of the application. Next, there will be testimony from anyone else who wishes to offer testimony or ask questions. Then, to honor the right of rebuttal, we will again hear from those in favor of the application. To expedite the hearing, the commission members may ask questions of the persons as they testify. When this process has concluded, we will close the public testimony portion of the hearing. During the hearing, some important standards apply. First, all those who testify must hold their testimony to decision criteria. As in all land use hearings, there are a complete set of rules, procedures, and criteria we must follow. Second, any issue that may later be raised on appeal must be raised with enough specificity to allow the commission and the parties an opportunity to respond. Any issue intended for later review by the Land Use Board of Appeals must also be submitting in writing before the record closes. The first local appeal is to the City Council. Third, the failure of an applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with detail specific enough to allow the city to respond to the issue precludes an action for damages in the circuit court. Fourth, before the record closes, any participant who needs additional time to review or respond to evidence in the record should request that time and explain the reason. The commission will address any request before deciding whether to close the record. These are the rules. Are there any questions? Seeing none. Do any commission members here tonight have an ex-parte contact, site visit, or actual potential conflict of interest or bias to disclose? If so, describe it for the record, including the substance of any contact and any conclusion reached.
Today I went to visit the site and ran into Shayna while I was there, so. But that was about it, so.
Thank you, Eric. None? And I do not have any contact myself. Does anyone in the audience tonight of the public wish to challenge a commission member's commission member's participation based on a conflict of interest, ex-parte contact, or bias? Seeing none, we will proceed. The public hearing is now open. Staff, please identify the staff report, the August 26th supplemental memorandum, and any photographs or other exhibits received today for the record and confirmed that they are available to participants. May we have the staff report?
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Collet, members of the board, Joshua Chandler, Community Development Department. The applicant has provided some additional information. It's on the dais for you. This is a blue title here, or blue cover page here, kind of details some of the additional information. Some of it was included in the application. I think most of it was, and there's just some additional information which is helpful as we walk through this discussion here. As mentioned, this is application 226-26. This is at the Meyer Building, 308 East 2nd Street. This is a primary significant resource within the Dalles Commercial Historic District. And as we mentioned here, before we get into it, staff did distribute a supplemental memo. So we had kind of written the staff report in a way that there was some additional information that we had been requesting. We got that information just shortly after that packet went out. So what it does is really kind of clarifies some direction for the commission here. I think what you'll see mostly in the staff report is there is mention of, we just had some questions about some additional architectural details on the top, these corbels that were shown in one of the pictures. So basically wrote the staff report in that if those were proposed or those are going to be moving forward, the commission would be deciding on that. Those are not included, so you can ultimately ignore any of that mention in those. So looking at it, as mentioned, those are not included. Exhibit A, page 4 of the staff report represents the actual proposed condition. Therefore, yeah, no decisions need to be made on that additional element. Second, the applicant provided additional information regarding the storefront columns. So there were some questions there, and I think there's some additional information here that was provided showing that the current columns are effectively are old columns with particle boards on them. Those particle boards are pulling away. So the intent there is to reconstruct these columns, removing some of this these past applications. The applicant also pointed out that there is a plaque. We have a plaque at the Meyer Building, which identifies some historic cast iron pilasters that with decorative capitals and medallions at the storefront that were removed during a later remodel. They provide additional context on this for the reconstruction aspect. So overall, the underlying aspect, I think, of this project is a rehabilitation of an existing facade. As I mentioned, since the corbels were removed, I think probably the most substantial change that I had a conversation with the applicant about that I think I mentioned early on that I think the board would actually be excited about. I think one of the biggest changes here is removing what appears to be boarded up clear story windows right above, at the first floor. So the intent is to remove the existing face on that building to determine what's behind it, see the condition of those windows, and rehab those windows back. This is very similar to Sigmund's Flowers proposal that came through a little bit ago, and we've seen a few of these exposed clear story windows in years past. And ultimately, coming from a glass background, obviously, exposing those clear story windows, I think, is always a pop. It's really kind of neat. It's a really cool architectural element, and I'm always surprised when those were covered up in the past. So I think it's a great rehabilitation project in front of you. I think the applicant has provided a significant amount of detail here for your consideration. There's no change of use, no building expansion, no ground disturbance. So you're going to see a lot of the criteria, some of the findings that we touch on here are really not applicable. I mean, there's some that talk about, building scale, building height, things of that nature, setbacks. This is not a new reconstruction, so you're going to see a lot of non-applicable standards in there. Ultimately, the discussion here is really, I think, regarding the reconstruction of these columns and the exposure of these clear story windows. When it comes to color has and continues to be processed really on an in-house, staff level decision. This was a decision that was made years ago by previous HLC coordinator. I've been working with the applicant on a few. She's been doing some great work around downtown, painting some of the other buildings that we have downtown in connection with the urban renewal pilot refresh program, which is bringing a lot of nice color to our downtown, freshening up some of these buildings. So ultimately that process it's in front of you today because that's what it was included in this proposal. But a typical process for color isn't really something we bring in front of the commission. But since it's here, we did want to note it. A typical process would be an individual reaches out, they confirm that it does comply with our code, and they move forward with painting of the buildings. There's also mention in here that there is some surface treatment that needs to be taken, some work that needs to be done. It's just a reminder in here that it's, the gentlest means possible that is required in our code. Pressure washing would need to be limited to methods limited to methods and pressures that will not damage historic materials. Ultimately, I think that is, I would have to say this was a pretty straightforward, easier application to work through. The applicant provided, like I said, a significant amount of information, very helpful to provide the information to y'all to make the decision. And with that, staff is recommending approval with some conditions that are in there. And I am more than happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Josh. Any questions for Josh tonight?
Well, I just have one question. When I went to look at the packet on the website, I didn't see the staff report included in the packet. So that was
Was that the main packet or the supplemental?
the main packet.
Yeah, so the staff report is on page 15 through, let's see here. 15 through 25 of that packet. Did anybody else have any issues? Okay, apologies on that one. I'm happy to elaborate on anything if you need it.
Maybe just the conditions of approval.
Yeah, conditions of approval. Ultimately, our boilerplate, it needs to be completed, in conformance with the plans that were submitted to us. If there's any changes to those, the applicant needs to work with the director, myself, to make any changes. Exterior painting shall be completed as shown on the palette, and I also mentioned that's something that we handle ultimately in-house. The existing historic columns and transom materials, if present, shall be retained and repaired when possible. This is one of those elements where the applicant has made, mention that, they're very aware that the goal is restoration over replacement. So they're really going to ultimately take a look at the condition. And I think some of the pictures that have been provided have shown the condition of this particle board that was added to the columns. So I think it's showing some deterioration there. And then, like I said, and then the goal would be to remove, I think it's just like a particle board. Applicants can elaborate some more, a face that's on the front of the building that's covering up those clear stories. So the goal there would be removing that and then restoring the windows on the inside. It would be a wood placement window on that. And then surface cleaning, make sure it's gentlest means possible. We also have the standard in here for if anything is found, historical artifacts over 75 years, we have the requirement there to contact the state archaeologist. And that is about it, but happy to elaborate on anything else.
So I guess I've been on the commission long enough that I remember this coming before the commission for those replacement columns.
Oh, really?
So there should be some kind of earlier staff report about those columns being kind of rebuilt and
Okay.
there.
Yeah.
I think there was just nothing there. Well, you can see it in those pictures from the state inventory before the work was done on it in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I don't know if there's going to be anything behind those. I doubt it. But there might be something in the staff report about the stuff that covered up the transoms.
Okay.
'Cause
Okay.
that might also date from that time. But
Well, we'll take a look.
yeah.
Thank you, Eric. Any further questions for Josh tonight? Thank you very much, Josh. I appreciate the report. Next up, does anyone wish to testify in favor of the application tonight? Please step up to the microphone. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, to testify in favor of it.
Am I going to come up there?
If you wish to testify in favor of it,
I'm Richard Wolf, the Dalles, Oregon. The before and after This says concept art shown for illustrative purposes only. Certain upper facade elements depicted are not included. And is that what you were calling a corrigible? I call them lookouts.
Yeah,
Right up here.
the corbels on the top. Yep.
Um, it would be nice if we could start doing stuff like this because back then the tops of the buildings were really focused on because there was upper floors and the people in the offices across the way had something to look at, you know. But those can be duplicated with foam, and it's a very very good product. If it breaks off, it won't hurt your head so much.
Hmm.
And back in the day when the parapet walls were made, I heard a tale that there was you built your own parapet pony wall up on top, and if it fell onto somebody down below, then they cut your head off. So we need to start doing things right around here. So you have some consequences, and the consequences, what happens is that we don't do stuff like this, you know, and we don't get to an opportunity to appreciate it. The transom windows are functional. Light windows are not functional. They're like the side light of a window on each side of a door. Same thing. What I'm seeing here, it appears to be weighted window sash type of thing. Is that? It's awesome. It's just absolutely awesome. Some of this stuff was mail ordered back then. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else wish to testify in favor of the application tonight?
So if I can interject, I think our script is potentially leaves out the opportunity for the applicant to speak on this unless we're talking about that in a little bit. But it might be,
It does look like it skipped it out.
yeah, it might be a good idea for the applicant to kind of fill in any of the details I have. Obviously, she's far more invested in this project. So to hear from her and her approach toward it, I think would be beneficial for the commission.
Thank you very much for the catch, Josh. Please, the proponent, the who applied.
My name is Shannon Newsom. What I've placed in front of you is pretty much what I have in mind. The corbels at the top aren't included, but the paint job, removal of the plywood that's on top of there, and also remaking the column that's existing currently. That's where I'm going after at this point. Do you guys have any suggestions or any descriptions or any qualities that I've missed? I think I have everything pretty well documented in the packet. Also be doing molding and casting of the pre-existing columns so that I'm able to get those accent pieces too. So I can put them and place them on the other column that exists. So that would be done in plaster. There would be a bit of foam carving there, creek coat, stucco, concrete. It will last a little bit longer than probably the MDF would have in the first place. So it's going to be a little bit more permanent, but also it will match the building. As for the window restoration itself, I have a couple of people that I'd be willing to work with, and they're fantastic. One of the things that I'm going to wind up doing is as I peel that back, I have to see what condition the windows are in. The windows exist. If they're underneath there, chances are they're broken. So also getting the broken glass or the windows that are in there out of there and then approaching it in that direction. So it's going to be a tiered process. So I open it, see what's going on, and then address the situation as I go forward. I'm working with a couple different contractors. I have someone that specializes in 1800s windows. I have somebody that specializes in creek coating and doing fire foam work too, and also painting. So I have a full crew.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Ms. Newsom?
Gosh, my only other thing is, thanks. It looks great.
Thank you.
And it's,
Yeah, I think I covered everything. I think everything's in here. So
yeah.
yeah,
And I think it'll be nice to bring the building back closer to its historic appearance.
gosh, it's
So,
so pretty. Yeah.
yeah. Um, as far as the Corbling goes, it might be a good candidate for one of the SHPO Diamonds in the Rough grants.
I would love that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this year's cycle is already over
Mhm.
with, but maybe in a future cycle, especially since you've done some of the background research and
Yeah, absolutely. I
what you-
definitely went upstairs and onto the roof and saw that they did not just lay it down, they threw it out. So
oh yeah,
I was looking for it.
I was wondering, do you think it was tin or
Hey, I don't know.
yeah?
There's some pieces that are up there, but they weren't tin, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It would make sense if it was.
And then that center portion, pretty cool too, where it
I
goes
really
up.
like that. Yeah. Yeah, I had mentioned that too, even as a signage for the building too. Also, the existing motifs that were at the top as well, the accent
Mhm.
pieces at the very top,
Uh-huh.
those seem like they replicate the ones at the bottom. So if I do make molds and casts of those in the future, being able to use the molds from that to incorporate into the top portion, I'd
Oh,
love
yeah.
to do that.
Cool.
Thank you. Victor.
Yeah, I'd just add, yeah, it's an amazing building, probably one of the most important ones downtown. So yeah, I'm happy to see somebody tackling it, someone that knows what they're doing, and I guess, and I was gonna mention the diamonds. I mean, it's a perfect candidate for a Diamonds in the Rough grant from SHPO, which is I don't know if it's 10 or if it's 20,000. I think it's 20,000. So it's a nice chunk of change. It's not going to affect my vote or opinion on it, but I'm really curious. You could be talking, some serious budget
Mhm.
to do this stuff, especially with, question marks, what's behind here and all that kind of stuff. So the building owner is prepared to,
Mhm.
they're great in surprises and stuff. Good. Well,
Yeah, I applied for the 50/50 grant as well.
oh, good.
So that's part of it. It's like
Great.
not only redoing the facade, but the 50/50 grant through the
Perfect.
city too.
Great. Yeah, well, I think that's like I said, one of the most important buildings in the downtown. So thank you for all that.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Any further questions for Ms. Newsom? Thank you very much. And now we will go back to those in favor of the application tonight that wish to speak on behalf of it, other than Mr. Wolf. Thank you. Is there anyone that wishes to speak that is online tonight in favor of this? Seeing none, we will proceed. Does anyone wish to testify in opposition to the application tonight? Seeing none, we will proceed. Does anyone wish to speak that are not in favor of opposition? Oh, wait. Does anyone wish to testify that are not in favor or opposition that would like to ask questions tonight? Seeing none, we will proceed. There was no. Okay, well, does the commission then have enough information to make a decision? All right, and the public testimony and evidentiary record are now closed. The commission will deliberate based on the evidence in the record and the applicable criteria. So I think we're all in favor. I mean, it looks good. Yeah,
Yeah.
great to have done. So if we would like to make a motion.
I'll move that we approve HLC landmarks application 226-26 for 308 East Second Street.
Thank you very much, Eric. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you very much, Victor. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes have it. All right, let me get my agenda back out here. Next up on our agenda tonight is the First Streetscape Project Sidewalk Markers Design Project discussion item.
I have just one other question. Don't we usually do something after the application?
So typically a resolution.
Yeah.
We do have a resolution. So might be the cleanest way. We do have some language in the staff report itself. There is a way to adopt that resolution, which then accepts the approval.
Okay.
So on page 25 of that staff report, Commissioner Gleason, if you wanted to take the lead on that one, staff's recommendation would be basically packaging them up both at the same time.
Okay. So do we need to adopt the resolution and? Okay.
Yeah. So I would just go with that, move to adopt resolution number 209 and then,
Okay.
yeah.
I would like to move to adopt a resolution number HLC 209-26. Resolution approving the Historic Landmarks Commission number 226-26 hearing.
Thank you, Eric. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Victor. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Mhm.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much, Josh, for pointing that out. Thank you, Eric, for catching that. So then we are on to our first discussion item. I believe Josh, you'll take that away.
Yeah. Thank you. So I am joined this. We're joined this evening, this afternoon, by Swin Ho, who the city has been working with these last few months on this next project. I provided a little bit of information on this memo. Ultimately, this is a project that came to be through the First Street project. As you know, First Street is historically and archaeologically significant area. The city is working under a memorandum of understanding with SHPO that includes cultural interpretations of the area, including recognition of a historic Chinatown district. And as part of this project, multiple aspects of First Street have been preserved. There's some historic sidewalk stamps that have been removed from the site. They are in storage at this time. There's an old historic metal storage door that was in the sidewalk. That has been removed and it will be reinstalled. There's an old building facade and that is being basically secured in place right now while construction occurs around it. And that will remain in place. It'll be secured to the new sidewalk. Then there's also some new interpretive signage that will be incorporated into the project, and this is going to follow completion of the project itself. So as part of this project, we're also proposing, this has evolved into, part of this MOU is to come up with an idea for stamping the Dalles in Chinese into the sidewalk as part of this project. This really evolved into something, I think, a lot better, and this is what we're going to discuss tonight. So staff, to move this forward, staff brought on, has started working with Swin Ho Design to assist in the research of this. Swin has significant experience with culturally sensitive design and interpretation projects, working with Portland's Chinatown, as well as the award-winning Garden of Surging Waves in Astoria. She can touch on some additional, and there's also, if she feels the need, there's also the additional work that Swin had done that we've provided in the memo. So from that, Swin will be presenting some concepts here. So kind of go to, walk through the development of how we got to where we're at. We also want to thank Eric Gleason and Jackie Chung with their help on this, providing a significant amount of research, getting to where we're at. And we also are working, we've met with the Columbia Gorge Community College on fabrication of these medallions that we'll get into. Overall, Swin, like I said, she'll touch on it. She'll make it sound a lot better than the dry introduction that I'm providing here. But ultimately, I think it's turned into a pretty neat project. And with that, I am happy to turn it over to Swin.
Well, good afternoon, commissioners, and thank you, Josh. Great intro. And I'm Swen Ho, and I am an urban designer and have been lucky enough to actually land on several projects that are dealing with history, culture, and currently I'm also working with ODOT on a second project that is doing interpretive work for the city of Oakland in Oregon, which is one of the earliest historic landmark registry city in the state. I've been lucky enough actually to know the Dalles a little bit on the peripheral in terms of the lay of the land. I was my husband and I were the designer of the actually owners rep for food bank for their Columbia Gorge food bank building, and but never so intimately be able to learn about the history of the Dalles downtown, and learn a lot through Eric and Jackie with a lot of information about the site. And I take that Josh is going to be flipping the slides for me. Is that right?
Yeah, it's just loading up real quick, but yeah, it'll
Okay.
be right up. Yep.
So let me know when the first slide is available. And I take that most of you probably know a lot more than I do, but I can get really geeky when it comes to history. I think history is really cool. Everybody should learn a lot from the past, which will inform our future. And so for me, the lot of work that I do has a lot to do with how stories can be passed on and shared with the community, future generations. And usually I focus a lot on how would little kids get excited about the past. And so when I was asked to come up with some ideas how to acknowledge the rich presence of Chinese businesses in the past along Front Street or First Street or the Main Street, which actually it's all the names that I've been learning from record, that I realized there's a lot of presence of the old stories. And Jackie and Eric, they've been collecting a lot of material and also research. And with a wealth of knowledge, I've been just so lucky to be able to learn so much. And while focus on the street has to do with the kind of the block that has the most presence of the past history. And so if you see in this slide where there are a lot of these purple blue buildings repeatedly in the block, that at the center on the bottom also recognize the families of the businesses. That is the block that we are looking at. And of course, we are not ignoring the rest, but I think the approach is looking at what is the most impactful presence to put the design effort into the opportunity is this block that we are focusing on. Can we look at the next slide, please? So here we are, the block between Washington and Court along First. And you see the little orange dots to the north of each of these building lot. And again, historic records are representing what's been recorded. We actually don't know what has not been recorded. But based on historic records, each of these orange dot is representing a business that was there with the name of the business and the owner's name that was on record. So if you look at, there are a couple of these slots with 3 dots or 2 dots stacked on top of each other, that is indicating that that particular building lot was recorded with at different time of different businesses and different owners operating on the same site. Next slide, please. So when I start looking at the material, Jackie and Eric mentioned that historically there were 2 different Chinese names that seem to be indicating that was the Chinese name of the Dalles. And asked me, what should we do? And when we look at it a little bit closer, I also had the aide assistant from Professor Chumi Ho from California. And there's some of these names come into play. On the left-hand side, it's a record dated back 1901. And then on the right-hand side, it's a record dated in 1913. And the Chinese names are different. And the English name, one is Dalles, Wasco County, one is Dalles, Polk County. But if you look at the store names in English, and also in Chinese, the English names are indicating like Duck Sing Wenki, repeated in both records. One is in Polk County and one is in Wasco County. So and then also the 2 Chinese names, actually, if you pronounce them in Cantonese, they actually pronounce differently. On the right-hand side, it's Jie Lei Fao. On the left-hand side is Jie Lei Fao. On the right-hand side is Da Fu Si Fao. And so how can those 2 be so different if they're the same place? And I did a little bit of snooping around with some of my acquaintance, and then turned out they are written differently and they are pronounced differently if you pronounce them in Cantonese dialect. For the left-hand side, it says Jie Lei. Fao is like a city, right? A place, a city. Jie Lei has nothing to do with Dalles. Yet, if you pronounce it in Thai Chinese, it's Dalles Fao. Dalles. So perhaps the English entry, the name was entered by someone saying it in Thai Chinese. It's a dialect in similar to Cantonese area, Guangzhou area. And then on the right-hand side, it's called Dalles Sifao, Dalles. So the entry person who wrote it down might not have realized they meant the Dalles, not Dallas. History record are entered by people. And so we see that as the entry had made a mistake. But what do? We think it's best to indicate both because these are also historic records. Next slide, please. This slide is showing you the duck sing wing key are repeated in both records, one in 1901, one in 1913. But they are actually, if you look at the map earlier, they're the same location. But if you go back to the old Sanborn maps, the old recorded maps, the street maps, the lot have a number to the lot, or the building number, but then over the course of different era, time, the naming of the street, Main Street, First Street, Front Street, they're the same street. And yet the building numbers been changing, where or not they got shipped to 2 digits, 3 digits starts with 1, or 3 digits starts with 2. In this case, it's the same building, same business, same town, same location, same street. Next slide, please. So it got really, really interesting and curious. And then Jackie and Eric sent me some material, and then that included the upper right photo, which when I saw the photo in the document, I thought they were little label of something. I saw that in person when I visited the Dalles not too long ago, and Eric was able to show me the actual panel. This panel is probably 3 foot by 3 foot arc, and it was very different scale. But the photo in the little packet of a document that I received, it got me thinking, well, this is something from the Dalles, from a historic location of a building, of a business. What if we are able to recognize the history through like a little label using gold and black? And turn out the panel that I saw in person, it's actually black paint. This is not bronze cast. And the one below, the circular one, is actually a label on wrapper for a cake of dried tea leaves, Chinese tea leaves, very, very commonly tea cakes. And then in the middle, I have this book that has all these historic, ancient, I call them medallion, but then they are like carved material that have very auspicious names on it. So I thought this circular shape, there's something very universal about it. The orientation is very much, it's very easy to work with. And then on the left are some of the other round symbol that has dragons, phoenix, longevity. And so I thought, well, let's work with that to see if we can come up with some label of the history that we would like to capture. Next slide, please. I don't know if Josh, you have the corrected version, or should I explain what's not on the screen?
Yeah, if you want to explain. I
Okay.
forgot to include the updated one.
That's all right. So there are 4 of these medallions, and because I'm very much aware of the fact that whatever I design, it will need to be translated into physical form that will be fabricated by someone. The city has to pay for it. So I've worked with enough cities. I know money doesn't come very easily. So how can we make it very cost effective? So these 4 medallions are mock-ups. The left one is Dalles in the 1913 record. So you pronounce it in Cantonese. So there's a little bit of this is part of this educational opportunity for people to understand. You can read something that was written in the past, but you may not know how they were written based on what pronunciation or dialect. So I did put down Cantonese dialect cited in 1913 International Chinese Business Directory. That's straight from that record. And then down below, Dalles, of course, at some point became the Dalles, and then to be able to set aside the confusion with Dallas. And then the 3 Chinese characters are Tongyan Gai, Chinatown, and Cantonese. And then on the right-hand side is Jie Lei Fao, but then we need to pronounce it in Taishanese. And what's not on this slide is the updated version of the fine print underneath the Taishanese version, which the English words will be citing Taishanese dialect cited in 1901, Dunbar's International Chinese Directory. That line is not on your slide right now. And then in terms of the font, the Chinese characters, these 3 characters on the right-hand side on the top, and then Dalles on the bottom, those are straight from the font and the printing on the historic record. So you can see the first Chinese characters is a little bit off, not aligned on the bottom. That was how it was printed on that page. So I thought that gives you a bit of that kind of age flavor. And then the circle is one of those old Chinese medallion circles that I have included. And then down below are the 2 businesses, Chuki and Wing Tong Tai on the right-hand side, if I read it in Cantonese. But you can see the English name on record. It says Wing Hong Hai. And it's different from how I would say in Cantonese, but if you say in Taishanese, it's called Wing Hong Hai, not Wing Tong Tai. So those are the different dialects. And the size of the 2 larger ones are 6-inch diameter, and then the 2 smaller ones are 4-inch diameter. And the print on the sheet also mentioned that the little bit of transition of maps that calling our street here, Main Street, East Main Street, or Front, or East Front, or East First Street. So the transition of the names, I will be following when the business was recorded on what street. So these little medallions will be in front of the buildings, and then the 2 larger ones will be at each end. So if we can go to the next slide. This next slide demonstrates how these loosely identify where these medallions will be placed. The small ones indicating the storefronts, and then the 2 bookend larger medallions are, one will be the Taishanese, and the other end will be Cantonese. So people will know every time they see a medallion, there's something knew about the information that is captured. No medallions are going to be repeating another medallion. So they're hoping that people will just pique their interest to see what's next. The 3 stack on top of each other and then 2 stack on top, it's basically graphically, I'm trying to make a point so you can see easily on the slide, but in reality, they can be side by side, parallel to the storefront, can be bundled together, 3 like a little triangle. Those are not decided yet. We have been really delighted to talk to Robert Clark at the community college. He was so resourceful, and we basically priced cost estimate. If we do 2 large one, 6 inches, and 2 small one in 4-inch diameter in metal, how much will, and so these will be kind of bar relief. How much will that cost if we make them to be sturdy enough to anchor into the new sidewalk? And he said $200. So that basically excited us to think that perhaps we can throw in a few $100s to make several more, and really make this block tell the stories that's been buried and lost. And then now people will see this block had a lot more history, and that's where we are right now. I don't know if Josh, you have more you want to add, or if there are questions.
Yeah, I think, thank you, Swin. I really, I like listening to the history and kind of the development of this whole thing. Yeah, ultimately this started out as some stamps, and I think it's evolved into something that's, like I said, much a lot better. I think something that's going to be a little more captivating for the public. And yeah, when we entered into that conversation, we really kind of honed in on these 6-inch designs. And then after hearing from the community college that I think jaws dropped a little bit. Swin is used to working on some pretty elaborate public art pieces, and nothing is probably ever that cheap from what you hear, Swin, knowing a couple of the fabricators that you work with. So it was really neat. We were able to expand it. Eric has been great. Eric and Jackie have been great providing this information on the businesses along there. I think it's going to really, like Swin said, tell a story. We're still figuring out exactly how it'll be installed. One approach, we've had some ideas with our team on, when we met with the college on how exactly to apply them. And then you talk to the contractors about how they think it should be installed. So it's a little different. One thought right now is potentially core drilling into the brand new sidewalks themselves and kind of placing these in and almost, caulking around them, caulking the joints in or grouting around them, however it's going to be. There's a couple elements that go into that we still need to figure out. And installation wise, happening at the tail end of the project, making sure that there's no additional damage that could occur from additional construction activities. And when we first had this conversation, when we first started working with Swin, the goal was to get these designed and kind of moving forward. So, making sure that they're going to work with the project schedule and everything. There's been some delays with that project. So the design, we're able to finalize the design, but then this opportunity came up of, talking to the college, and the college is willing to get these fabricated relatively soon. But then their idea with it was if we wait until like February, March, this would be an opportunity for the students to fabricate these. And I think that just really creates that much better of a project overall. We can wait. And I think having that opportunity for students, to see something, go out there and see some public art that they fabricated here in the Dalles, I think is really neat. Yeah, and with that, I think we just really wanted to share this with you. We wanted to get your thoughts, any suggestions, recommendations, and just kind of keep this like kind of an open dialogue conversation for you.
Thank you very much, Josh. Any comments or questions? Yeah, but I mean, you prepared a lot of it, so.
Well, I'm really glad that the city's brought on Swen to work on this stuff because, sometimes you have these ideas, but getting them visualized and then into reality is the next step. And I think it helps to have somebody that knows what they're doing do that. So,
It's interesting because I've done several times with these kind of bas relief type of display installation. The most fun was to be able to see kids on a walking tour, and they brought in paper and rubbing wax, and they do rubbings off from the medallions or the plaques, and they were able to like take home part of the story and the history that they can keep, which makes the bas relief really become much more interactive. This is low tech interactive art. And I think this is it's day and night. It's free for everybody to take something home, and I think that makes it very meaningful when we engage with this kind of work.
Thank you. Yeah, Victor.
Yeah, well, thanks for all your work, and it definitely comes through that you're enjoying it and care about it, passionate about it. So thanks for that. I would think design-wise, with the multiple medallions, in my mind, I think would probably look best lined up parallel along the storefront, like one of the options that you mentioned. I can definitely see that in my mind being, in my opinion, the best option, something like that.
It's almost like a timeline. You can lay them in
Yeah.
chronologically. Yeah.
And it, I guess in an odd way, to me, it just feels like that puts the business right up next, the name of the business right up against the business rather than floating it out towards the middle of the sidewalk. So it's like, to me, that's like where it really belongs. Like this business was here, which is kind of an abstract thought, but just the way I see it. Love the idea, of course, of the fabrication people locally doing that. And yeah, I wouldn't think there's any reason to rush it and, give the students an opportunity to be involved. We want as much buy-in from the community as possible in the project. And, 40 years from now, some student will be able to take their kid and say, we did this when I was a student and stuff. And that adds, like you mentioned originally, the stories, right? It's like we're telling these ancient stories, but we're also making new stories. So that's a really good one. And I would say Robert's the best. He's a friend of mine, and he's probably brought more money into this town than anybody for like several $1 million worth of grants for the fabric. I mean, it's pretty unbelievable what he's been able to accomplish. And even if he's willing to give like a great discount, I think it's going to be important to make sure it looks old. So even if we have to spend more to make it bronze or brass or something like that, we want, like the images with all the characters and stuff, the print images look really old and they look great. I really like those a lot. I think we want to make sure that whatever is fabricated and embedded in the sidewalk looks, for lack of a better word, kind of ancient too. I mean, it's new and it's going to last forever, but has that really old look. So I think even if we need to spend more, yeah, we don't want something bright, shiny there, which you probably already thought of, but there you go.
Thank you, Victor. Any further comments or questions? Seeing none, we will proceed to our next discussion item, which is the Sustainable City Year Program.
Thank you, Swin.
Thank you.
Ben, appreciate it. Josh.
Yeah, thank you again. For this next presentation, we do not have a slide show for you, but I am joined by we are joined once again by our community development analyst, Ann Moorhead. So Ann has been working with the city for about a year now, and you may remember Ann from her previous work on the light capsule installation at the Waldron Drug Building that she completed as a rare student here, or not a student, excuse me, as a rare participant. What it's been about 2 years ago now. Ann's been a great asset to our team. She was completed her work with Rare, went on to do another program over on the coast, and then now she's back at Portland State University and also working with the city of the Dalles. So we appreciate Ann's work on this. This next project that we are discussing is regarding the University of Oregon Sustainable Cities Year program. So the city entered into a 2-year agreement with the university in 2026. And the program connects university classes with real world community projects. And we're using several of those courses to implement certain ongoing preservation work through research, documentation, and analysis. And Ann and I really didn't prep too much for this, but Ann, do you want to present this and go through the presentation, and I'll kind of fill in as needed?
Sure, that sounds good. Can you hear me all right?
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. Well, as mentioned, we have 2 years planned with the Sustainable City Year program, and we currently have 3 courses confirmed that align with our historic preservation goals. So if you look at the second page of the memo that was sent out with the agenda packet, you can see our full 4 goals in order are the historic preservation ordinance and design standards review, mostly looking on how to make our design standards more clear, figure out exactly when they need to go to the Historic Landmarks Commission and when they can just be expedited, and those kind of things, looking from a applicant standpoint to try and make them more accessible. A second goal is updating our historic landmark inventory as well as digitizing it. It hasn't had a significant update in quite a while, so focusing on making that both more accessible and more usable by staff and the public. Our third goal is to get more documentation for the Pioneer Cemetery, which also has been something that's considered consistently been on HLC's goals, but hasn't seen any sort of major digitization or updates from a public information standpoint. And so we hope to create more accessible information that we can share with the public and increase interest in that area. And our fourth goal, and the only one we don't currently have a confirmed class for, is the Rockfort Heritage Site activation, which is about bringing more attention to the Rockfort site through some sort of interactive or perhaps tourism-focused methods. But since we have no confirmed class yet, that remains to be seen. So I will go through some of these classes that we have currently determined. They are somewhat confirmed as far as what the topic area is. There's only so much leeway we have because we are matching with a currently existing class, and they do have a certain number of preset learning objectives. So we can't completely do a 180 on the topic. It needs to fit within that class topic. But we do have a lot of flexibility as far as, exactly what products people create or what they focus their time on. And that's, where we have a lot more leeway to really make sure that the products created by each class reflect what we really need here at the city. So our first class, and the one that will come first, is the cemetery class. This would happen in fall term, so that's December through, or late September through December of this year. This class would focus on doing some mapping of the cemetery, as well as some sample restoration of a few markers through the course of 2 site visits. They would be led by the professor in the correct ways to do that restoration, and then we would hopefully be able to open up that particular event to the public or to commissioners to help people kind of learn what it would look like to restore these sites and bring more interest to the area as well. So the final deliverables of this project would include a better updated inventory and a condition assessment of the cemetery and the markers within it, as well as documentation about their restoration methods and findings, and a final presentation about all of their work together. The next 2 classes would happen simultaneously in winter term, which is between early January and end of March. The first one, the historic landmarks inventory updates and digitization, would probably be split into 2 for time's sake. Each term at the U of O is about 10 weeks plus 1 extra finals week. So that's 11 weeks total. And class size and credit load would really change exactly how much time these students would be spending on each project. And that time is finite. So having them go over all of our historic listings in 1 term has been told to us to be a bit too much to ask, but splitting it into 2 seems quite feasible. So our current thought is that we split it into the 2 historic districts. So either the Trevitz or the commercial district, looking at one first and the other in a following term, likely in the following year. But in each case, they would go over the listings, double check them. They'd look into the structures on the site that fall under that listing. So not just the main house, but perhaps a garage or an extra structure as well. And create an updated recommendations for an updated historic listing with appropriate photos. This class is also expected to include at least 1 site visit to help collect photos and documentation. And that would again occur in the beginning of next year. And then the last class we have currently confirmed also for winter term is the Historic Preservation Ordinance and Design Standards Review. That class is intended to evaluate our current practices as far as our design standards, as well as an applicant experience and going through the application process to help us identify exactly, these pain points and in inefficiencies in our process to help clarify our current standards, hopefully through additional educational materials with like visuals and supplemental information, as well as things like a list of frequently asked questions and frequent issues encountered. That way we can try and address them little by little and help use those to make future code updates or codify consistent practices so that it becomes more effective in the future and we know more clearly what changes need to go through a historic landmarks commission review, which do not, and can be more clear and consistent on how we decide those cases. Did I miss anything, Josh?
No, I think that's yeah, that goes over. That's as Ann was mentioning, this the Pioneer Cemetery project, that one is it's confirmed. So that is, we'll probably be receiving a syllabus for that one here pretty soon. So that work will be starting relatively quickly. We'll be sure to notify the commission here when they plan on coming. It's the Historic Preservation Program at University of Oregon is getting really exciting. It's one of the more exciting programs is what they tell us. It sounds like it's a pretty exciting program. They've kind of like re-engaged in it in recent years. So there's some additional reinvestment in the program. So that's pretty exciting. The faculty has been great so far. And then the other two, the inventory update as well as the design standards review, those are still, this is the information that we have. This is what our thoughts are, and we'll still be refining those here in the next couple months. So, we wanted to take this opportunity. Well, first, I just wanted to touch on something that I kind of skipped over earlier. The fact that we also, Anne was also hard at work this year, earlier this year, applying for 2 grants. We received a CLG grant this year for $16,000, amount not to exceed 16,000. And this we were able to confirm with SHPO that's actually going to be used to help pay for the Sustainable Cities Year program. So currently, the Sustainable Cities Year program is budgeted through the general fund, is Community Development Department, broken out that way. We were able to use some of those funds to be able to pay for it. So that was appreciated. Unfortunately, we were unsuccessful with the cemeteries grant, not because of our work in it, but it was very competitive this year. So that was also going to be used to help it. But we'll continue to apply for both of those grants every year as we move forward. And then so ultimately, I just wanted to touch on that, like I said, and then ultimately we just wanted to bring the commission up to speed that we're going to be entering into this work. This commission spent a lot of time, a lot of hard work on refining your goals this early, last year, earlier part of this year. And we want to, the goal here is to try to move some of those initiatives forward. And it's always great to work with students. They have a lot of like fresh ideas, and they are still revolutionaries until they get into the real world. So we'll try to harness some of that energy to move these things forward. So we just wanted to take this evening to present this information to you. And ask, questions, comments, recommendations, anything that you want from us, so we can help refine some of these things. And we're here to take note.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions, Eric?
Seems like a great thing to me. Get a little synergy with the university. And then thinking back about what Shayna's thoughts earlier about the mineral-based paint and the
I was going to mention that too.
yeah, and maybe that's a good time to start trying to incorporate that into our guidelines.
Yeah. I was thinking the exact same thing. I took some notes on that too to mention it.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of the things, we always, I've been told that I need to, tailor my expectations. I've been told that now by University of Oregon on that, because we entered into this partnership with, like, we want the world, but they tone it down a little bit for us. We entered in like, we're going to use students, and we're going to go through and we're going to do a full code amendment. But they kind of reality check. Students don't do code amendments. So we had to kind of tailor fit that to basically, as Anne was mentioning, put the students in an applicant's shoes and then walk through the process, find out what those gaps are. They've done some great work. They did some great work for the university, not the university, but the city of Corvallis, and they prepared these really great frequently asked questions talking about, one focus was on windows, one focus was on, exterior paints and things like that. And it was really, really helpful. And is what Anne had mentioned here is, we're trying to maybe take a look to it, like, what are those minor alterations to a property? I understand that in years past, I believe, former HLC coordinator Dawn Hurd, I believe it was, she had conversations with you in the past about what the process is for approving those colors. Approving colors basically is a very informal process that the city has. It's basically an email exchange with the director. We want to see, is there anything else that the commission might be interested in on these modifications? Because one thing, and Shayna, she was, we appreciate her patience on it, but she submitted her application right after the newspaper notice for the July meeting. So she had to wait 6 weeks to come in front of the HLC? And is there any work that could be done more at a staff level that the commission would basically give its blessing for? And that's another thing that we kind of want to refine. Is there like a tiered approach as to these type of alterations can occur at the staff level? These need to go to the HLC for approval, that type of thing. Kind of looking at it, in the lens of like planning. Planning has type 1, type 2, type 3, and type 4 applications, or ministerial applications, or something that are building permits handled by a planner. We don't require someone building their home to go to planning commission to get that approval, type of thing. So is there a way that we can hone in on that and see what we can get from this conversation? And obviously all the changes that would occur in our code would be coming in front of the commission anyway. So once these continue to develop, we will continue to update the HLC as they go on.
Thank you very much, Josh.
Yeah.
Any further questions or comments? Yeah. Vicky.
Yeah. Did you say Ann got a $16,000 grant?
She did. Yep.
Good job, Ann.
Thank you.
And I would say just keep going for it with the students. Just go for the world and
Yeah, okay.
see what happens. But always best to
Agree. If there's no further comments or questions, we'll proceed. Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda for the night, staff comments.
Well, ultimately, I think we provided most of staff's comments through presentations this evening. As you'll see, there's been a long delay with having meetings, and I think part of it was making sure that we had, the content to have a meeting. I think as things come up, like SCYP, we probably could have presented this to you at a previous meeting. It may have been, a 15-minute meeting, so want to be respectful of your time. But we do have some potentially taking a look at this evening. As you'll notice, we have just the three of you and Counselor Randall. Won't forget you though. But 3 voting members here, and that's basically what we have after the passing of Commissioner McNary. We also this morning found out that our other board member, Tom Jamay, has stepped down from his role here. So we were working, typically there's a set of bylaws that really clearly lays out what the process is. And I think we may have mentioned this before. The HLC doesn't have a set of bylaws. We follow, our code actually lays out some of the basic structure and what basically a quorum is, but ultimately it's something that's been on our radar that we'd like to get in front of you and getting some bylaws adopted. Council has urban renewal. I've been part of the urban renewal and planning commission bylaws updates in the past few years. So we have a pretty good template. A lot of it, there's real no concern with this board of anything that jumps out, and anybody that needs to be mindful or anything, but it's just that typical protocol when these types of situations occur. We know exactly where to look, what to follow for a quorum-based thing. So those will probably be coming up. Then we've also talked about in the past this newspaper notice. That was another thing that was with Shayna's application here. That was another thing. She submitted the application and it was too late to get to the newspaper. That was one of the biggest things. And this board, I think, has talked in the past that if these are these types of alterations, this is an example for this alteration, this project, we had to notify the newspaper per our code. So it's, those types of conversations. So, ultimately, I think those are probably some things that will be coming up in the next few months, and anything else that, any other applications that come in. And that's
Thank
it.
you very much. Appreciate it. Next on the agenda tonight, commissioner comments. Eric, do you have any comments for the night?
Oh gosh, well, let's see. There's a meeting tomorrow at 3 with the Fort Dalles Museum Commission and the foundation to talk about a proposal by the county to transfer the museum to the nonprofit. So that could be a major change, basically shifting the Fort Dalles Museum from public ownership to a private nonprofit. So people that are interested in that are kind of more than welcome to go to that. That's a public hearing tomorrow at 3. It's at the city council or the county commission chambers. What else? I think that might be it. I'm kind of missing Bob right now and thinking about all the work we did up at Fort Dalles and he did on the grounds up there and then all the work he's done up at the Pioneer Cemetery and all his time spent here on the commission. So,
Great guy.
and
Thank you, Eric. Victor, any comments?
Question, and maybe not at liberty to say anything, but would be seeing Sandy at some point, do we think, or?
I'm really bad on current events, I guess. Sandy actually resigned from the city
Oh.
in May, I think. So my apologies on not providing an update sooner. I know she was out on leave for a little bit, and then
Yeah.
she decided to resign and step down from the city.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thanks for the update.
Yeah, thanks for the update.
Yep.
Scott, any comments?
No, none of this time.
Thank you very much. At this time, I would take a motion for adjournment.
I'll move to adjourn.
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Going home has it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Mhm.